kind of like similar but different vein of like going back to resolutions, but also kind of like working with what we have and,
Mm.
figuring out ourselves. One of my other things, and I know this in everyone else's brain is going to feel like this, like, but in my brain it makes sense. So one of my other things is I was like, I have to get my office more organized this year.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I was struggling with is the desk that I use. I bought it when I was working at the trauma recovery center, and with the space I had, I could only put in a 48-inch desk,
Mm.
which for some people that's plenty big, but I'm someone who spreads out. Like that's part of that spatial brain thing. Like I need to be spread out. And, I have a couple of like wood file cabinets that I picked up at, that people were giving away free. And I kind of had it, but it just wasn't quite right. And then with, especially Zoom, because it was like a standard desk width, like I couldn't have my notebook in front of my computer when I was doing Zoom with my clients. And so I'm always like, twisting.
Mm.
And so I looked at my desk and oh, and also my desk, because it had a keyboard tray. And so I couldn't fit my legs underneath my desk. So I'm always like out like this, like trying to write on the little 2 inch, like it was just a mess. And so I looked at my desk and it's a hardwood desk, but it's one I put together myself.
Oh,
So that
wow.
meant I could take it apart in theory. So I looked at it, and on the left-hand side was like a cabinet for like a desktop and a drawer. And then it had the compute like the keyboard tray. And so I took all of those out and just used like a little bit of stain on the piece of wood that I had to cut where the keyboard tray trim piece was. And then I wanted to make the desk deeper. So like suddenly I had plenty of space for my legs, which was great. Like I could be all up against my desk and move around and twist and not be like trapped. And then I was like, okay, I need it to be deeper. And so I went with my dad to the hardware store, because I was like, I think if we get a couple of L brackets and a piece of wood and some stain, we can take this desk. It's a beautiful desk and just make it deeper. And so we're looking at all the different like pieces of wood and stuff like that. And my dad found a stair tread of all things. And it was the perfect thickness. Well,
Mm.
I mean, it was like a 16th of an inch thinner, but that's not enough to make a difference. And so it was 48 inches. It was 10 and a half. I had wanted ideally 12, but 10 and a half was still perfect. And so I got this pine stair tread for I think $10 and some stain. And so I sat there and I sanded it and stained it for a couple days and so I have this brand new desk that makes me feel like I'm living in luxury. And all I had to do was buy a couple L brackets, some stain, and a stair tread.
Wow. Well done.
Amazing.
I,
And
I mean, you say just, and I'm like,
oh, I know it's not just, and for a lot of people, like maybe that's not feasible, you
yeah.
know. And so it's the same, and that's kind of where that clicked in my brain of like, I'm going, but I don't want to make hummus. And you're like, but it's so easy,
Yeah.
You can totally renovate your desk for
Oh,
like
yeah.
$50 and
Yeah.
but and then like when I put it all together, I was like, okay, like it's still a little bit tilty in the back. And my friend who had come over to just hold the piece on while I marked it and screwed it in, um, was all like, well, don't you have a stud right there in the wall? And I said, yeah. He's like, so just put a block of wood into the stud. And I'm like, oh yeah, because it's going
Yeah.
flush against the wall anyway.
Yeah.
And so now nothing can fall over the back of my desk anymore.
Mm.
And it's nice and deep. I have the luxury to do this and still be, flush with my desk. And I'm like, yeah.